Right. Hello, everyone. Okay, right, so we there for away. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the chat going. Okay, here we go. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being here, and a big thank you to our partners at Google for the opportunity to let us share our SearchKings story here with you today. By way of introduction, I am Brett Pearlstein, a chartered accountant by profession and Google Ads expert by trade. I've always been passionate about helping small businesses unlock their potential through the power of data since I began my career. And what an honor it is to be here today after being hand-selected by Google to deliver this masterclass to you on how to future-proof your business online in celebration of Small Business Month on the African continent. So before I kick things off, I'd like to introduce you to my trusty steed, as you can see in the chat, Dave Friedman. Dave is our operations director, and please engage with him on the chat. Ask any questions that you may have, and we'll dive deeper into them in the Q&A session that will follow. I'm not sure, 100% sure who you all are in the audience, but I guess that's what makes this masterclass exciting. So let's kick things off by doing a poll today. I would like to know how many of you would say you run an online business, and I'll give you 2 minutes to answer your questions in the chat, and then we'll come back to that later in the talk. I'm really hoping by the end of today, you'll have a different perspective and hopefully a better understanding of what Google marketing is and the tools you can leverage to future-proof your business online. So the composer Duke Ellington famously once said, "I don't need time, I need a deadline." And this deadline came with regard to digital transformation across the globe in March 2020, as governments started to push their citizens into lockdowns to flatten the curve as COVID-19 took a grip on the planet. What did these lockdowns do around the globe? Well, they forced business owners to find new ways to do business online. COVID-19 was categorically the key driver in the great acceleration towards digital transformation in business globally. Business owners scrambled to do what they can to stay relevant and survive in what is commonly being known globally, was commonly being called globally as a crisis. But what happens if I told you, instead of seeing the COVID pandemic as a crisis, rather you changed your mindset and started to see this as potentially the biggest gold rush of our time, where every business is pushing to stake their claim? Over the past 15 months, we've learned two things. One, the old ways of work no longer work, and this new normal may never go back to what we once knew. This is the gold rush that I'm talking about. With more people spending time at home online, globally, and becoming far more comfortable buying services and goods digitally, don't you think the time to start moving your marketing budget online is now? Over the past 12 months, I've coined an expression through the conversations I have on a daily basis with small business owners that I think you need to come to terms with the fact that if you think you aren't an online business, think again. In some ways you are. So let's quickly take a look at the poll, and maybe we can see how many of you said you think you run an online business online. So 3 out of 4 of you say yes. Well, I mean, that's really impressive. So, that last person, I wanted to kind of see if we could change your mind. I'm going to ask you 5 simple questions, and if you answer yes to any of these questions, I think we may be able to change your mind. The first one is, have you ever put your company background or logo on your Hangout or Zoom background, like I've done today? Is your business listed on Google My Business? Have you sold your service or goods via Hangout or Zoom in the past 15 months? Are you meeting online with your team or your customers? And have you ever tried any form of digital marketing? Now you've seen these answers, do you see that in some way you are running an online business? So what have we learned since the pandemic began? There have really been some staggering research that has come out about the change in online behavior since March 2020. McKinsey delivered a report in Q3 last year saying that e-commerce jumped 5 years into the future in just 12 weeks on the African continent. Digital events increased globally by more than 2,000% year on year as of March 2021. And here at SearchKings, we've onboarded 135% more e-commerce customers in the last 12 months. And those customers have seen a 400% increase in online transactions year on year. If you haven't started thinking about digital transformation in your business, you are really getting left behind. The stats above showed how much more adaptable and resilient we are, and more so how much we give ourselves credit for. And this is especially relevant to small business owners. The pandemic came knocking, and those business owners brave enough to have opened the digital door really haven't looked back. Behind that digital door is the power of Google and Google marketing, and this can really give your business not only regional, but potentially global scale. But one thing I want you to remember, it does take a budget to market on Google's platforms. So if your business is not in the position to support the spend, please hold back. And remember, the bigger ponds you want to fish in, the greater marketing budget you will need. So why am I telling you all of this? Well, I thought I'd share a little bit more about my journey to this point. Born and bred here in Johannesburg, I'm a qualified chartered accountant who spent 5 years in the accounting profession. My time in the profession was spent learning and harnessing my business acumen while consulting and auditing to small to medium-sized businesses. I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to go with my audit firm to the Big Apple, New York City. And after a year in New York, working in the profession, gaining some much needed international expertise, I sadly fell prey to what I now like to call a visa whoopsie, a whoopsie that would change the course of my career forever. This led me to flee across the border as an immigration lawyer worked on my American dreams. Things sadly didn't work out, but be it through divine intervention or fate, I landed up meeting my long-standing and existing business partners at SearchKings. Whilst in Canada, I spent a few weeks in their SearchKings offices in downtown Toronto, and I watched how they helped small to medium-sized businesses grow through the power of Google marketing. Being analytically minded and having consulted to this market segment before, my attraction to Google Ads was almost instant. So after some long introspection, some reevaluation of some personal and professional goals, and heavy negotiation with my then girlfriend and now wife and mother of my child, I hopped on a plane, brand, IP, and entrepreneurial dream in hand, and the rest, as they say, is history. So I guess what happens in Canada didn't stay in Canada. It came to Africa, and now I wake up with a massive smile on my face, and together with my 16 local certified Google Ads experts, we help business owners unlock their true potential online across the globe. So who are SearchKings? SearchKings today is a global Google Premier partner with over 5,000 customers around the globe, and 300 of which here on the African continent in almost every industry. We have 65 certified Google Ads professionals working on campaigns around the globe. We are perceived as an online performance marketing agency, but we're not a jack of all trades, but rather a master of one, choosing not to focus on every touch point in the world of digital marketing, but solely on paid Google advertising using our custom proprietary built technology. So how does this benefit our customers, you may ask? Our dedicated focus and proprietary technology ensures we can offer cheaper than industry average fees, an exceptional level of customer service, and we can do this all at scale. So when I talk to business owners about marketing their business on Google, they generally fall into one of three camps. Those who've thought about it, but never taken the first step. Those who've opened the digital door and are doing it themselves. And those who feel it's far too complex and find the need to get the help of an agency. I thought I'd share a few lessons of our journey to this point that will hopefully help you grow a successful business on Google and give you the insights that you need, irrespective of the stage that you're in. So first up, let's look at the tools at your disposal. The first one being Google Search, your online salesperson that never sleeps, never needs time off to isolate or to homeschool the kids on Zoom, but rather is always there in your potential customers' moment of intent. The next, the Google Display Network, your digital equivalent of out-of-home advertising. Think of these as digital billboards, similar to those you would see on the highway or street pole ads, but these billboards appear on the busiest and most visited websites on the internet. YouTube, one of my personal favorites. This is the modern day equivalent of the local TV or radio station in your area, which we'll explore in more detail further in the chat. Then the Google My Business listing, the world's biggest online directory and your business's very own pin on the famous Google map. And finally, Google Analytics. This is the home where all this data gets underpinned by all these solutions. I'm more than happy to dive into any one of these products in more detail further in the Q&A session. If you have specific details, please add them to the chat and Dave will pick them up at the end. More than anything, these tools can offer you insights and data to better understand your business, your industry, and your audience online. which will ultimately help you make smarter business decisions. As a chartered accountant, this data gets me excited, as for the first time ever in marketing, you can now have a clearer view on how your marketing dollars spent help you grow your bottom line. And this growth in your bottom line is truly underpinned by data. And I think there's been a massive shift in marketing today versus in a world pre-COVID. Marketing was for marketers, but now more than ever, it's not about pretty pictures and more about the numbers and how you interpret them in real time. This data is the gold rush I spoke about earlier. We started a performance marketing agency with a very unique approach. And we don't hire people with traditional marketing backgrounds, but rather engineers, accountants, data scientists, and even a rally driver to boot, all of whom spend their days assisting customers solving complex marketing solutions on Google and helping them better understand their data to make smarter business decisions. So all this talk about data has got me, the numbers guy, a little bit excited. So I thought I would share some interesting trends provided by our partners at Google over the past 15 months, which I hope will be incredibly illuminating for you. Let's look at the world's most visited websites in the month of May in 2021. Google had over 90 billion views, followed closely by YouTube with 34 billion views. Facebook and Instagram together made up less monthly visits than YouTube alone. So don't you think you should start considering Google as your digital marketing partner of choice based on its scale? Here are some interesting search query data points looking at Q1 this year versus Q1 last year on Google since the pandemic began. Some of these search queries are quite obvious and others are less obvious. So let's dive into them. Searches for loans are up 9,000% as business owners and individuals look for assistance in navigating the economic downturn from COVID-19. Food delivery services queries up 5,500% as people spend more time at home and restaurants remain shut due to lockdown restrictions. At-home DIY and renovation queries up 3,000%. Whilst we're spending all this time at home, we're finally getting around to that list the wife has been on our case for the past few years. And finally, personal and business storage queries up 2,000% as people downsize their offices and make more room at home for homeschooling and offices and need a place to store that valuable stuff. Now for the less obvious ones. Used car queries up 900% as people question the need for public transport in light of the risks associated to COVID-19, and maybe it's time to enter the car market for the first time. And adventure and travel queries up 350%. As we spend more time at home, we start to daydream about those once-in-a-lifetime bucket list items and trips we wish we've always done. So now, I want you to think about your behavior based on this data. I want you to think about your business, think about your customers, and think to yourself, have I potentially missed the greatest market opportunity by not being online? So back to one of my favorites, YouTube's. Monthly YouTube users have increased from 17.9 million users a month to 24.1 million users a month in just 15 months in South Africa alone. What happens if I told you that you could reach 65% of the South African online audience on this platform? Do you think this could spell the death of radio and TV advertising as we know it? How would you think differently about your marketing your business on this platform now you know the size of its reach? Byron Sharp, widely regarded as the king of branding, once said that YouTube is the first global ad-supported TV station that any business, irrespective of its size, can reach their branding goals on this platform thanks to its accessibility and immense user volume. So the thing that I love most about Google marketing is that it truly flips marketing as we know it on its head. It is no longer about you going looking for the customer, but rather now the customer come looking for you. This is a direct response marketing channel in a potential customer's moment of intent. You now more than ever need to be there because the longer you aren't, the quicker you're out of sight and out of mind. So I thought I'd share some insights of what our portfolio looks like since the pandemic began. When the crunch is on, sadly, most business owners default to the same reaction and look to start cutting budgets. And marketing budgets, sadly, are the first to go. But I want to change your perception here and tell you that by cutting your marketing budget, you are likely cutting off the oxygen that your business needs. Those business owners we saw who are brave enough to keep their marketing budgets online have seen incredible results. And as data dudes, we corroborated these results and trends by reading multiple studies from the last global economic crisis back in 2008. The data points to one interesting and very succinct view. Those who took a longer-term investment view and held their nerve were better placed for recovery at the end of the economic downturn. They received cheaper clicks online, a greater share of voice or impression share, greater brand recall with potential and existing customers, and much lower acquisition costs as all their competition pulled back on spend, which ultimately means they received more for less. Based on the above and the gold rush we are living in, do you think you have likely missed the greatest marketing opportunity in your business to date? So I thought I'd share a personal story. I had my son just 12 hours before the first hard lockdown in March last year. And I've donned him the last baby born in the free world. And one day I'm really hoping to sell his story to Hollywood. The interesting thing about being born in this time is that not since World War II will a global event have such an impact on so many lives. It is not only scary, but exciting for him, as now the whole world will be learning to adapt to this new normal and have to relearn new tricks as he learns these skills for the very first time. So really, the rest of us no longer have a head start anymore. I mean, this poor little guy had his first Google Hangout just moments after being born when he met his granny and grandpas for the first time. The key lesson here is that we all need to adapt or risk getting left behind. As an entrepreneur, I know that finding quality content online and helping me future-proof and better myself on a daily basis is key to success. And I can't recommend enough signing up to the Heavy Chef platform, which is an unbelievable platform that helps entrepreneurs learn new skills. And Dave will pop the Heavy Chef URL into the chat now. I watched a talk last year by one of my local entrepreneurial icons, Mr. Robert Paddock. He's an edutech entrepreneur and a real trailblazer on the African continent. He founded and then sold his first business, Get Smarter, in 2018 for 1.4 billion rand, and is really one of South Africa's true only tech unicorns. His new venture is called the Valencia Institute, which he aims to be the first global fully digital high school on the planet. What was truly inspiring about the keynote he delivered to the Heavy Chef audience was that one key takeaway from COVID-19 is that there are no new trends developing, only the acceleration of old ones. So what I want to leave you with today is one thought. In a world of digital transformation, Google advertising is by no stretch a new concept. Just now, more than ever, it needs to be at the forefront of your business marketing and customer acquisition strategy, as accessing customers online and having access to data in real time is now more relevant than ever and is going to help you unlock your future potential online. And for those of you who watched my fireside chat with Juliet last week, which launched on the Think with Google YouTube channel, remember one thing: Google marketing is not daunting, it is just different. So I'd now like to hand over to Dave. That was just the right amount of time there as prescribed by Google. I'd like to hand over to Dave to pick out some of the best questions from the audience, and we can have a deep dive into those questions. And then at the end, I want to keep a little bit of time left to tell you 3 things that you can start doing today to better help you future-proof your business online and digitally transform it for a new tomorrow. Right.
Sure. Thanks, Brett. So Carl had a question about Google Analytics and Google G4, just asking which ones we prefer, why, pros and cons. Personally, he finds it hard to adapt and he doesn't really like it.
Okay. I'm Dave. So, as our operations director, I'm almost happy to bring you into this one as well.
Absolutely. I mean, so Carl, G4, I mean, it was released last year. It is still very new in essence. It's I think it's a great leap forward, and I think it's still got a long way to go, but I would encourage you to use it, especially if you have a new website or if you've got a site that's running for quite a while. Start using it and setting it up, because eventually the switch over is going to happen. But what we're doing is we're using both G4 and Standard Universal and slowly integrating and seeing how the data differs between the two. I hope that answers your question. But the reality is that it's a great insight, especially if you have an app or any other type of software or that you want to integrate with your analytics from your website. The data kind of translates between the two much better than you would have with the more universal analytics.
Great question, Cole. Thank you.
Yes, Cole. Slow integration, but start using it. It's worth it.
Any other questions out there, guys? Don't be shy. We're ready and available to see how we can help. All right, guys.
One more in.
YouTube content creation for Google Ads. Best approach and tools you guys would recommend. Yeah, Cole. I mean, that's always a tricky one. I think the content creation is the biggest limiting factor, especially for small to medium sized businesses, as they can be really complex and quite expensive. I mean, there are times I think leveraging platforms like Fiverr and Upwork are great places to find cheap resources that can help you develop content at scale. So, we've actually built our own proprietary piece of software that we did, which sadly isn't available for licensing. But previously to that, we used a lot of graphic animation and scribe videos, particularly off those two freelance-based platforms. I hope that helps you. All right, should we start picking on people out of the crowd?
Another question in.
Yeah, Cole, the age-old fight that we battle with. I think it's really about delivering. It's all about delivering value, and as I spoke about in the chat, you've got to not only deliver value, but help them better understand how that value translates into bottom line growth. And it's no easy or mean feat. It's a long and arduous battle, but I think trust and results underpin any relationship when it comes to Google marketing. And if you can solve for those two pieces, it should be easier to unlock more budget. But yeah, you've got an uphill battle there, good sir. It's always tricky. All right, Judith, Patience, anything on your guys' mind that you'd like some assistance with? I see, Judith, we changed your mind on the online business thing.
3 out of 5 yeses on online business. Has anybody done Google Ads for themselves?
Yeah. All right, brilliant, Judith. I mean, there's lots of great content online, and I think there we go. Cole, currently running my own small business. Yeah, Judith, there's tons of content online on how to do this, and I think, as I discussed previously in the chat, is that you can really fit into one of those 3 categories. But wherever you are, there is content and support available to you. So don't be scared. Take that first step, because really there's no better time to be online than right now. Okay, Golden, that's a great question. Data on conversion rates in social media, e.g. Facebook versus Google Ads. I think really interesting question specifically here on the African continent. I know when I went to Lagos in 2019 to deliver the my keynote for the Google Partners launch, tons and tons of people were spending money on social media. I think really it depends on your business. What we have noted, depending on the type of business, we're seeing much more qualified and quality leads coming through the Google Ads platform versus social media, and that generally those quality leads are turning into into bottom line revenue. So what we're noticing is that even that the conversion rates may not be as high on Google and the cost per lead may be more expensive, the quality of those leads are far higher. Well done, Carl. Love hearing stories like that. Good luck on your journey, man. Really hope I'm sure you're gonna be successful. Golden, I hope that answered your question. Excellent. Patience, any questions on your side? Otherwise, I'm happy to hop into 3 things that you guys can start doing today to future-proof your business for a more digitally forward tomorrow. Right, so I think, Buds, if you're happy, I can go into the 3 things everyone can start doing today. Sure. All right, guys. So what are 3 things you can start doing today that can help future-proof your business for a more digitally transformed tomorrow? The first one would be making sure your website is mobile responsive. I think, what's incredible to note here is that Google stats show that 75% of all online traffic and first engagement with the website comes through a mobile device on the African continent. So ensuring your business is scaled for this device is truly vital to your success. There is a free, amazing Google tool where you can see how mobile responsive your website is. Dave is going to pop this tool into the chat now, and please all look at it, and it actually gives you pointers on how to fix the mobile responsiveness of your website. The next one, which will be get your business listed on Google My Business. This is an online directory where you can locate your business, give customers a better understanding of your basic info, i.e. opening hours, address, do you take appointments? They can read your reviews, which really helps build consumer confidence. And think about your own behavior. Like, how many times have you gone to look for a store or some service and tried to get some information about that, and all that information is wrong because they have no presence online? This is a fundamental, free, amazing tool that you can use to leverage your business and make yourself discoverable online. And the last one is really stop focusing on vanity metrics and spend more time focusing on impact metrics. What I mean by vanity metrics, things like website visits, ad impressions, clicks, and bounce rates. These are all very well and good, but they don't help drive bottom line growth. I would be far more focused on what is your cost per lead, how much share of voice or impression share do you have relative to the market, and what is the volume of leads you're generating by marketing channels. These metrics will help you make smarter business decisions and ultimately help you decide where best to spend your marketing budget on a regular basis. Okay, I see one last question from Cole there. Question on GMB. I have a client who should be on GMB, but they have no physical location. What are the options? Dave, I think you could chime in here, but I think you can still select, you can still set up a GMB. You can just say you don't deliver services.
You can hide the physical location when you set it up, yes. So you can have a GMB where you can still get reviews and have a presence, but you don't have to show the location. Some people obviously run their businesses from their personal home, so there is an option to do that in the setup.
So you would have, so Carl, you would put your personal home as the address, get it verified, and you can hide that address as as a function on the GMB.
It's a uphill battle we all struggle with, Carl, with getting verification.
But you're welcome to reach out to us, and we do have we do have some partners that can assist us with that. So so on that note, I think, you know, I'm incredibly passionate about entrepreneurs succeeding on the African continent. I think my true calling was using the skill for good. And what I wanted to do is thank you all for your time, for being here. And I really want to leave our information here. Please go check us out, www.searchkingsafrica.com, or reach out to us on info@searchkingsafrica.com. And we're more than happy to spend some time really helping you better understand how you can future-proof your business online. And if you have any questions or any needs for myself or Dave, please feel free to reach out.
Give everybody a second just to grab Bod's review there.
Great, and thanks, Carl. And yes, I mean, please feel free to follow us on LinkedIn. We're constantly putting loads of great content out there that can help you start thinking about your business differently. But I really want to thank you all for your time. To Buds and our partners at Google, thanks so much for the opportunity. We really love being here today and sharing our insights with you. I hope we've left you inspired and ready to future-proof yourself for a new digitally transformed tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. Thanks, Dave. It was very cool, insightful. We're going to